This podcast is sponsored by FortuneFavours.ie. FortuneFavours.ie is a home workout equipment store and your one-stop shop for all home gym equipment. They are well known for their adjustable dumbbells, which combine 15 different weights in one dumbbell. They have both 24 kg and 40 kg adjustable dumbbells. Check the link in the bio of this episode for more information. I suppose we'll move on to hurling now, and Division 1A, Cork against Clare. This will be the first of the doubleheader. The football's on at 7, the hurling's on at 5, of course. And this game's actually live on GA Go for, I don't know what reason. This is the only game that isn't shown on TG4 or RT or BBC Northern Ireland that is shown on GA Go. So there you go. Anyway, Cork Clare fans will be jumping for joy with that. And I suppose it's an interesting enough game to start the league here.
Yeah, like it's an extremely hard one to call. Like I think Clare will be missing, obviously, Tony Kelly for a lot of the league, and I'm not too sure what the crack is with Aidan McCarthy as well, because obviously he's been suffering from post-concussive symptoms. So like hopefully he gets better and gets involved with the Clare team at some stage, because he looked like a superb talent last year. But yeah, like I think Clare could be dark horses potentially in the All-Ireland this year. Like Mark Rogers looks like a phenomenal hurler there as well. He's been shooting the lights out in Fitzgibbon Cup, so he could be a huge addition in there. And obviously for Cork, like I'm sure they're gonna get some of the under 20 hurlers in there, like Padraig Power potentially maybe coming in there. So an interesting one. I'd probably fancy Cork to win this one, though. I think it'll probably take a bit of time for Clare, a little bit like the league last year. They probably just aren't going to be up to the standard just yet without Tony Kelly, without potentially Aidan McCarthy. And Mark Rogers has obviously been playing a lot of Fitzgibbon Cup, so I don't know if we'd be risked in this game. But yeah, I think Cork probably have more depth in their panel, so I'd probably fancy them to get the victory.
Do you actually find it interesting, just a last point in this game, that Mark Keane has chosen hurling over football? He has performed well for Ballygiblin in the junior championship, of course, but seeing as he was loved by the Cork football fans to score that goal against Kerry, now he's with the hurlers after coming back from Australia. Do you find that an interesting move by Mark?
Yeah, like I'm not 100% sure. Like, I mean, I haven't seen him play hurling, so I don't know how, he might be a better hurler than he's a footballer. I'm not sure, but obviously given he was involved in AFL, and obviously he was poached by AFL because of his football and talents like that, it wasn't because really of his hurling talents, I presume. So yeah, an interesting one. Like, and usually with a lot of AFL players who come back, they don't play hurling. Like I know Desi Hutchinson was a big player obviously in soccer with Brighton, but I suppose that's a little bit different really. Like the skills in soccer and Gaelic football aren't really the same, really. Some of them are the same, but yeah, it is an interesting one. And it's hard to know how good he's going to be, or whether he'd be a big addition, or whether he'd be an impact player coming off the bench. But that'd definitely be potentially one to watch. And I don't even know what position he'll play, to be perfectly honest, but he could definitely make a bit of an impact and be a player for Cork. And yeah, interesting that he chose hurling over football. I don't know if that says anything about maybe a lot of players just not choosing the footballers at the minute, but should be an interesting one to keep an eye on.
Hearing a lot from Buff Egan stories. He's a colossal of a man from centre back for Ballygiblin, and some people are saying he'll play wing forward for Cork. I don't know where he'll play. We'll have to see Saturday night. It'll be a mystery, I suppose. The next game I'm going to talk about here, Darragh Egan's coming into Wexford. A superb achievement for him, obviously. His first competitive game at home to Limerick. Like, there's no tougher test than that, to be honest.
Yeah, like, I mean, and I watched them against Dublin in the Walsh Cup final, and they really looked all over the place, really, from start to finish. And it was kind of funny looking on Twitter and a few different Facebook pages and stuff, and seeing a lot of people maybe saying, we're sorry to Davy Fitz, can we get him back? Because the organisation really seemed to be all over the place. And it is pre-season, but at the same time, it is a week before you play Limerick. And look, Limerick probably still have a lot of players maybe to come back. I think Cian Lynch isn't fit at the moment from what I've heard, so he probably won't play in this game. And we obviously seen Limerick last year rotate quite a bit and try different things out in the league. And it wasn't until match day 4 or 5 really that they got their first win. And it wasn't really until the Munster final against Tipperary that they really clicked into gear and showed, the standard of hurling that we'd seen from previous years. So yeah, it'll be an interesting one, all right, with in this game, like and Limerick. The thing is, though, even some of the underage players for Limerick, like Cathal O'Neill and Adam English, could potentially do a job here. So a lot of work really for both teams to do in terms of, well, not a lot of work for Limerick to do, but obviously they don't have their best team probably available yet. But you would fancy Limerick to turn over Wexford here, given how poor they really were against Dublin at Croke Park there on Saturday.
I suppose you talk about Limerick resting players last year. We all seen that, and it was pretty obvious from the outset. Do you think the league actually matters in hurling? I know people will say it's important to stay in Division 1, but with hurling, especially in 1A, there's one candidate really to go down. Offaly, we'll talk about them later on, and 1B, you maybe have two at Laois and Antrim. Does the league in hurling really matter to you?
Yeah, I think they should probably restructure it in some ways, because I don't think having the top team from each division really works, because you're going to have a lot of dead rubber games by the end of the league. I know they kind of restructured where teams were sort of, and that they placed some different teams in Division 1A and 1B. Like, but yeah, like I think maybe it should be the top two in each division, and maybe then semi-finals. I know that's an extra game, and obviously they did that before, like a few years ago. And obviously you have the round robin kind of coming in as well, which takes up extra games. So I'm not too sure really, like there doesn't really seem to be much significance behind it, but obviously Allianz, who are sponsoring both football and the hurling league, I'm sure like they wouldn't be too happy if the hurling league was scrapped. Like, it kind of, you're only sponsoring the one competition then as opposed to two. So yeah, like I don't know, like and the hurling format really is perfect, so there's no point linking the league and championship or anything like that. It's probably just one of them things, but I don't really think they should get rid of it either. Like, it's still a big competition, and it's still a chance for a lot of teams to try out players, and it's a chance for, even you're looking at Offaly and Antrim and a few teams like that who get the opportunity to play big teams that they wouldn't probably normally get to play. So yeah, it's probably one of them things. Whether they could restructure it, I don't know. But again, trying to fit lots of games in is probably the tough thing there.
And just a reminder as well, Wexford and Limerick is over TG Har as well on Sunday. And speaking of Offaly, they're coming up against Galway now, and the O'Byrne or the Walsh Cup game. Excuse me, I'm getting confused between the pre-season competitions right now. And I suppose Henry Shefflin and Michael Fennelly did play each other in the Walsh Cup, and apparently that was a huge attendance. This could be even a bigger game in the league, like between two Kilkenny legends.
Yeah, like it's an interesting one. We were talking about Wexford not looking particularly great in pre-season, and Galway probably similar. Like, they lost to Dublin by 19 points in pre-season. I know they didn't have their best team out, but they still had the likes of Evan Nyland in there and a few other lads. So yeah, like I think Henry Shefflin, like if you want to make an impact as Galway manager and you want to achieve things as Galway manager, you really got to be winning this game. It's hard to really know what Offaly are going to be like or how they're going to play, because they've played in the Christy Ring Cup last year, and this will be a big step up really from what they're used to. But in that game in pre-season, like from looking at, I suppose, what people were saying online, like it did really look like they gave Galway a good run for their money. And I think the main thing for Offaly fans really will just be being competitive and not being steamrolled by 10 to 15 points or anything like that. I think being competitive, I think, will be the main thing. So yeah, it's going to be interesting. There's obviously a great buzz around Offaly at the minute, but you would surely have to fancy Galway to get the job here done, like with Evan Nyland, and hopefully, Donald O'Shea looks like a great addition maybe into the team, Brian Concannon as well. So yeah, be the battle of the Kilkenny managers, I suppose, but I would fancy Henry Shefflin to come out on top.
And you talk about Offaly there, like I'd have them as a clear side to come to sixth in this division anyway. It's not that Offaly are a bad side, but just the others are way ahead of them. Like, does this help Offaly in a way playing against those sides? They'll get hammered every week, but at the same time, they will get that Liam McCarthy experience, and maybe that'll be handy for the Joe McDonagh Cup this season.
Yeah, it's hard to know. Like, I mean, you've seen obviously Laois and Westmeath have kind of had that treatment over the past couple of years, and in a weird way, like Laois have gone through lots of hammerings, and then they've been able to turn it around and actually put in some good performances at times. So It's one of them things where if you earn the right to be there, you should be there. And I know a lot of people were complaining last year when Westmeath got absolutely trashed by Galway, but they've earned the right to be there. They've earned the right to be in the league. They won games in Division 2, and that's just how sport works. Like, you have promotion, relegation, and if you're good enough to be there, then you should get the opportunity to play those games. Like, sure, it probably doesn't do them too many favors, like if they lose by 10 to 15 points, but again, it's just about improving and working on the training ground and trying to see, okay, maybe what can we do for the next game, or what can we do here? Because we know Offaly have talent, we know Westmeath have talent, Laois, Antrim, we've seen what some of these teams can do. And, there's plenty of shocks that can happen from time to time. But whether they restructure the league and maybe make it an 8-team tournament or something like that, maybe that might be a bit better, or an 8 or 9-team tournament or something like that. I don't really know. But I think at the same time, it's just one of them things, unfortunately, that's probably just going to happen for your Offaly's, your Laois and your Westmeaths. But at the same time, they should be given the opportunity and the chance to try and bridge that gap.
And I suppose talking about one of those smaller teams, so-called smaller teams, of course, Laois are up against Tipperary at O'Moore Park on Saturday night, another hurling game on Saturday night. This time it's not shown live or anything, but it's a weird one with Tipperary. Obviously, today is recording on Tuesday. Maher announced his retirement. There seems to be, a bit of discontent in the back line, but the forwards seem pretty good for Tipperary. It's a bit of a mixed winter for Tipperary, isn't it?
Yeah, like in Tipperary, like they're a very hard team to judge in some ways going into this year, because like they won, I think it was back-to-back under 20 All-Irelands there in 2018 and 2019, and we haven't seen many of those players really make a breakthrough. Like, and and it is an interesting one, because Waterford are probably going to be missing a lot of players, and Kilkenny are going to be missing a lot of players in the league because of obviously club commitments. So like, I like, it's a weird one with Tipperary. Like, it could go really well in the league and they could be the team that finishes first, or they could even lose this game as well, because obviously there's a lot of transition for Colm Bonner. Like, losing against Kerry was obviously a huge disappointment in pre-season, but again, they didn't have anywhere near their best team, and Kerry, probably went really strong, and Kerry are probably just a better team in hurling than people expect. But you would be expecting players like Owen Connolly and Billy Seymour and Conor Bowe surely to come in there, and Tipperary might be one of them teams that maybe similar to Cork last year, surprise people with young players and maybe kind of build towards the championship. But it's a hard one to call, really, because you've seen what the McGraths can do and with Lockmore Castellini, and probably haven't looked that great for Tipperary since 2019. So yeah, like surely they'd be beating Laois, but again, like Laois have given good performances down the years as well against Waterfords and Clares, and be interesting to see if James Duggan maybe potentially comes into the Laois team this year. But surely Laois or surely Tipperary should get the win. It's a similar thing with Henry Shefflin going up against Offaly. Like, if you want to be successful, like Tipperary fans, if they lose to Laois, having already lost to Kerry in pre-season, be big worries there for Colm Bonner this year.
And I suppose there's a lot of people criticising Colm Bonner's squad for this season. If you've seen John O'Dwyer is out of it, Willie Connors, Paddy Creedon, who played very well for Tour de Sarsfields, I noticed wasn't in it either. Like, could that be a factor in the Tipp fans turning on Colm Bonner as well?
Yeah, like, I mean, it is interesting, all right, to see some players not coming in there and players opting out, and Bubbles O'Dwyer obviously not being involved. Like, and obviously Paddy Maher, I'm pretty sure he's not there because of injuries. But yeah, like it is an interesting one. And look, I'm sure when Kieran Kingston as Cork manager was making big changes and leaving players out, and even Liam Cahill at Waterford, when he didn't put Maurice Shanahan in there was a lot of people calling for his head. So it's one of them things where Colm Bonner is going to have his own style. He's going to go about it his own way, and he is the manager, and Tipperary fans will need to get behind them, really. So I think whatever way he wants to do it, they need to get behind them. And there's plenty of talent in Tipperary, and there should be plenty of talent in that squad already. So he probably is looking at it and thinking, we'll make a couple of changes and I suppose make his own stamp on the team and bring through younger players as well, which a lot of Tipperary fans have been calling for in recent seasons.
Yeah, absolutely. And I suppose the next game would be of particular interest to you, especially in Dublin against Waterford. The game's also live in TG4 on Sunday. Like, Dublin going into this game now, after hammering Galway, hammering Wexford in the Walsh Cup, it's a very exciting time to be a Dublin fan.
Definitely, yeah. Like, and as we said at the top of the show, like there's a lot of optimism around Dublin hurling at the minute. Like, I think it's probably the most excited Dublin fans have maybe been about the Dublin hurlers maybe since 2013 or the start of 2014. So there's a lot of hype around Dublin. There really, really is, and they've a brilliant spine to the team in terms of you've probably got the best fullback maybe in the country. And O'Donnell, you've got attacking wing backs and the likes of Darragh Gray and Ronan Hayes, was brilliant against Wexford, and he was brilliant obviously in the club championship for Kilkenny Crokes as well. So you've got a lot of options there as well, like Danny Sutcliffe. We know that the talent that he is, and potentially Dara Purcell coming in from the under-20s. So yeah, Dublin are looking really, really good. And yeah, I fancy us to turn Waterford over in this game, because Waterford aren't going to have Desi Hutchinson. There's going to be no Peter Hogan and Porrick O'Mahony, and Ian Kenny won't be there. So I was thinking, feeling we might turn Waterford over as well. Like Waterford, I remember in the league and in a few years under Liam Cahill, tend to take a few years really before they get to their best or pick up their best. So yeah, I fancy Dublin, especially being at home as well. I think we'll win this game.
Moving in, to even further on in the division, like this is the so-called weaker part of the draw, considering only Offaly are in Division 1A. You have in Division 1B, you obviously predicted that you'd beat Waterford this weekend. Tipperary, who are a bit disarray at the moment. Kilkenny are a bit inconsistent. They're the two other good sides in this part of the division. So is there a possibility of Dublin getting to the league final?
Yeah, I think there potentially is. Like, I mean, Kilkenny are usually very consistent in the league, and Brian Cody does go quite strong. So I'd probably have them as number one at the minute, even without TJ Reid and Owen Cody, potentially for Adrian Mullen for large parts of the league. I still think they've enough players there to come through some of these games, and they also play a lot of their games at home as well. So look, there's definitely a big chance for Dublin. There really, really is. And if we beat Waterford, you'd probably fancy us to beat Antrim and potentially Laois as well. So there is a chance, but Antrim looked very good in the league last year. I'm sure they'll want to take a few scalps along the way. But yeah, there's a huge opportunity for Dublin there potentially to get to a league final, which would be fantastic, really. But I do think at the same time, though, like a lot of the managers really in Division 1, I think they'll be like, because the round robin isn't far away, like I do think Dublin will still rotate at times, and I don't think they'll be at their absolute strongest throughout the league. So I don't know if we will finish first, but we could definitely be second or third. Like we'll definitely be up there anyway. I'm confident of that.
Yeah, absolutely. There's some very good signs in being a Dublin fan. And the final game of Division 1 is Kilkenny Antrim. This is actually an interesting game because Antrim, they performed excellent in the league last year, and then the championship, it kind of stalled a small bit, getting relegated, obviously losing to Laois. Like Kilkenny will be losing the Ballyhale lads, but you would definitely expect Kilkenny to win this game, despite the loss of the likes of Adrian Mullen or TJ Reid.
Yeah, like I mean, especially with them being at home as well. Like I don't think TJ Reid played in the game last year when they played Antrim at home at Nolan Park. So yeah, you would probably fancy Kilkenny. Like we know Brian Cody sets such high standards, and the players that come in need to perform to the level, and he usually treats the league quite seriously as well. Even when he does rotate, like we see his teams play well. So I don't think Brian Cody and Kilkenny will be having a defeat at home to Antrim in the opening game. I think that would be a huge shock. But yeah, I don't think Antrim have won outside Corrigan Park since the Joe McDonagh Cup final in 2020. So I mean, they'll want to put right, obviously, the disappointment of last year having been relegated to the Joe McDonagh Cup. So it'd be interesting. It'd be interesting to see what maybe players Kilkenny bring through. Like they don't look like they have a huge amount of talent coming through at underage, like as opposed to previous years. Maybe Niall Brazil might be a player to come in there, but yeah, like you'd surely fancy Kilkenny to win it comfortably enough with them being at home.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. And I suppose one game that is interesting enough in Division 2, I'm looking down the divisions really. In 2A, the only one really is Westmeath against Kerry. Now, Westmeath are actually the Lee McCarthy this year. Kind of hard to believe considering they're not in Division 1. And Kerry obviously beat Tipperary. It was a heavy defeat in the end to Limerick, but to be honest, anybody could get hammered by Limerick. Like, both sides going into this game with optimism.
Yeah, like, and Division 2 will probably be wide open as well. Like, it's there's a lot of teams probably going in with a lot of optimism, really. Like, and yeah, this could be a real promotion battle, I think, between Westmeath and Kerry. Like, I mean, two teams that are very familiar with each other, obviously played each other in the John McDonagh Cup final last year as well. And Westmeath obviously have a new manager and Joe Fortune coming in there. So huge chance for Kerry, like, and you know, they've been knocking on the door of promotion to Division 1 and Joe McDonagh Cup, and like, it's one of them things for Fintan O'Connor now where they probably need to try and make that breakthrough and make that step up and really try and make this sort of good period of Kerry hurling count. And it's probably a good time to play Westmeath, like, first game for Joe Fortune. And yeah, it's a very hard one to call. Like, I mean, with Westmeath, like, obviously having a new manager, like, they'll still have the Doyles in there from what I know. So hard one to call, and maybe Kerry might just nick it given how well they played in that game against Tipperary. Maybe they'll just be a little bit further ahead of Westmeath right now, but it's going to be a very interesting one.
Yeah, it definitely is. And just a bit of a notification there for you, Stephen Blumfie's now the new Kerry manager, so Fintan O'Connor is
oh, that's right, actually, yeah.
And there's some very good optimism in Kerry at the moment, and Kerry hurling hopefully will be on the right trajectory. I'd love to see Kerry hurling obviously develop it. It'll take a bit of eye off the footballers for a while, yes. And I suppose before we finish the podcast episode, Aaron, just remind us all where we can find you.
Yeah, like, you can find GA Fan TV. Obviously, that's the name of the YouTube channel on YouTube by searching GA Fan TV. Instagram at GA Fan TV. If you search it into Spotify, you should find it as well, and obviously on all podcasting platforms there as well, and Facebook, Twitter up there as well. And yeah, if anyone could go and check it out and subscribe and watch any of the content, it'd be much appreciated.
Brilliant. And everybody go to check that out. I'll link it in the bio of this podcast episode. And thank you once again, Aaron, for coming on to the show, and enjoy the games at the weekend.
Yeah, no bother, Matthew. Cheers for having me on.